Welcome to our channel, where tiny coins hold incredible worth. Let's uncover the rarest and most valuable dimes in US coin collecting. Stick around, you might just discover a hidden treasure that's worth much more than you think. Get ready to learn, explore, and be surprised. Picture yourself holding a silver-colored dime. It's small, light, and looks like any other coin you might get in change. But this one is different. It's a 1967 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark. That small detail, or the lack of it, has made this coin a point of interest for collectors. While it might seem ordinary at first glance, the story behind this coin makes it worth learning about. To understand this coin, we need to go back to 1967. It was a time of change in the United States. Coin collecting had become popular, and people were pulling coins from circulation to add to their collections. The U.S. Mint was having trouble keeping enough coins in use. To deal with this, the Mint made a few changes. One of those changes was removing mint marks from coins. From 1965 to 1967, U.S. coins did not have mint marks. The goal was to discourage people from hoarding coins based on where they were made. So, even though coins came from different mints, they looked the same. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was created in his honor, partly because of his leadership and partly because of his role in the March of Dimes, an organization that worked to fight polio. The coin shows Roosevelt's profile on the front and a torch with olive and oak branches on the back. The design represents liberty, peace, and strength. John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, designed the coin. His initials, JS, appear on the coin just below Roosevelt's neck. The overall design has stayed mostly the same since the dime was first introduced. In 1967, dimes were no longer made of silver. Instead, they used a copper core with a cupronickel outer layer. Although they still looked silver, their actual composition had changed due to rising silver prices and changes in U.S. coinage laws. About 2.2 billion dimes were produced in 1967. Because of the mint mark freeze, none of them show which mint they came from. Most were used in everyday circulation and show signs of wear. The majority of these coins today are still only worth face value, 10 cents. However, as with most coins, condition matters. A coin in excellent, uncirculated condition can be worth more. Collectors use a grading system from 1 to 70 to rate coins, with higher numbers representing better preservation. A coin graded 70 is considered perfect. Most 1967 Roosevelt dimes found in circulation are in lower grades. But examples in high condition, especially with what collectors call full bands, are more valuable. Full bands refer to the lines across the torch on the back of the coin. When these lines are clearly separated and not worn down, the coin is considered more desirable. Finding one in such high condition is rare. Only a small number of 1967 dimes have been graded MS 67 or higher with full bands by professional grading services. These include PCGS and NGC, which are trusted by collectors and dealers to certify a coin's condition. The value of a 1967 dime without a mint mark increases when the coin is well struck, shows no signs of wear, and has been properly graded. For example, a coin in MS 66 or MS 67 condition might sell for a few $100s. Coins graded MS 68, especially with full bands, are much more valuable. In 2024, one such coin, a 1967 Roosevelt dime, no mint mark, graded MS 68 with full bands, sold at auction for a significant amount. The coin was verified by a professional grading service, and its condition was exceptional. It showed no signs of circulation, and its strike quality was above average. This sale highlights the importance of condition and certification. While most 1967 dimes are common, a few rare examples in top grades can attract collector interest and high bids at auctions. The process of grading and authenticating coins adds value and trust for buyers and sellers. If you're someone who enjoys collecting or searching through coins, it's worth paying attention to details like surface quality, sharpness of the design, and whether the coin has been certified. Even if a coin is not worth thousands, it may still be an enjoyable and educational item to collect or trade. The 1967 Roosevelt dime also represents a specific time in U.S. mint history. The decision to remove mint marks was short-lived, and by 1968, mint marks returned. This makes coins from 1965 through 1967 a little different from other years in the series. The coin's design has stood the test of time. It remains a standard part of U.S. currency and continues to be used today. Although many people pass these coins around without a second thought, collectors see them through a different lens. Coins like this remind us that even ordinary objects can have interesting stories. They carry small details that reflect larger decisions, like changes in minting policy or economic shifts. A small variation in how a coin was made can make it more collectible decades later. Today, the highest known sale price for a 1967 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark, graded MS-68 with full bands, is $109,000. Most examples are not worth this much. The majority are still common, and unless a coin is in extremely high condition, it usually has only modest value. But this rare top-grade example shows what is possible when a coin has been carefully preserved and verified by experts. That if you have a 1967 dime, and it looks sharp and unworn, you may want to have it checked by a grading service. While it's unlikely to be worth thousands, it could still have value beyond face amount. Let's move on to the next rare dime. This time, we're focusing on the 1984 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark, produced at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, it looks just like any other dime that might end up in your pocket or fall to the bottom of a change jar. It's small, silver-colored, and easy to overlook. But in some cases, this otherwise ordinary coin can be worth thousands of dollars, when the right conditions come together. To understand how this happens, let's start with some background. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946, 1 year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time. Roosevelt's left-facing portrait was selected for the obverse, while the reverse design featured a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. This same design has remained in use ever since, making it one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Fast forward to 1984. By this point, Roosevelt dimes had long since transitioned away from their original silver content. Like most U.S. coins made after 1965, the 1984 dime was composed of a copper core with a cupronickel outer layer. These dimes weigh 2.27 grams, are 17.91 millimeters in diameter, and were struck in the hundreds of millions for general circulation. Specifically, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 880 million dimes in 1984. Every one of them carries a small P mint mark on the obverse side, just to the right of Roosevelt's neck. With such a high mintage, it's easy to assume that all 1984 P dimes are extremely common, and in most cases, they are, but coin collecting is all about the details. Not every coin from a large production run is the same. Tiny differences in how coins are struck, how they're handled, and how they're stored can mean a big difference in value. While most 1984 P dimes entered circulation and show signs of wear today, a very small number were set aside, stored in pristine condition, and survived the decades untouched. These are the coins that collectors seek. In coin grading, the difference between an average uncirculated coin and a top-tier example is measured on a 70-point scale. A coin graded MS-60 is uncirculated but may have visible marks, dull luster, or soft detail. A coin graded MS-65 is considered gem uncirculated, with sharp features and strong eye appeal. Anything at MS-67 or higher enters the realm of true rarity. Then there's the full bands designation. This term applies specifically to Roosevelt dimes and refers to the 3 horizontal lines across the torch on the reverse. For a dime to be graded as full bands, these lines must be sharply struck and fully separated. It's a sign that the coin was produced with a strong die and minimal wear. Most dimes, even those in good shape, do not display this level of detail. So when a 1984 P dime is both in mint state 67 or 68 and has full bands, you're looking at a truly rare coin. These coins weren't just well made, they were preserved almost perfectly, with no major flaws or contact marks even under magnification. And there aren't many of them out there. Some of the highest grade examples come from original mint sets or coin rolls that were never opened. In those cases, the coins avoided the scratches and nicks that come from everyday handling. Over time, collectors and dealers submitted some of these coins to grading services like PCGS and NGC. Once graded and sealed in tamper-proof holders, these coins entered the collector market with official grades and designations. In most cases, a 1984 P Roosevelt Dime in average uncirculated condition is worth a few dollars at most. A nicer example graded MS-65 with full bands might bring in $200 to $500, depending on demand. At MS-66, prices can exceed $1,000. But the real jump in value comes at MS-67 and MS-68, especially when paired with full bands. To put that into perspective, the difference between MS-67 and MS-68 might be just a few minor marks or slightly better surface quality. But because so few coins reach that level, collectors are willing to pay a premium for them. These coins represent the best of the best, and while grading is technical, it's also about trust. A coin that receives a high grade from a respected service like PCGS is far more valuable than a raw, ungraded coin, even if they look similar. The certification gives buyers confidence, which drives up demand. In 2018, a 1984 P Roosevelt Dime graded MS-68 with full bands by PCGS sold at auction. It was nearly flawless and verified by experts. Its strike was sharp, surfaces clean, and the bands across the torch completely separated. It was a standout example of a modern coin in peak condition. Since that sale, awareness of these high-grade Roosevelt dimes has only grown. Collectors are paying closer attention to modern coins, especially those that are difficult to find in pristine condition. While classic coins tend to get more attention, modern rarities like this dime have earned their place in serious collections, and today, the highest known value achieved for a 1984 P Roosevelt Dime, graded MS-68 with full bands, is $80,000. Up next is a coin that most people would overlook without a second thought, the 1994 Roosevelt Dime with a small D mint mark. It's one of those coins that slips through your fingers when you pay for coffee or ends up lost in the back of a drawer. But among the millions produced, a few examples stand out for reasons that might surprise even experienced collectors. The Roosevelt Dime has been a part of U.S. coinage since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt for his leadership and legacy, especially through his involvement in the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. The design has remained largely unchanged for decades, Roosevelt's profile on the front, and on the reverse, a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The designer, John R. Sinek, placed his initials, JS, just beneath Roosevelt's neck. By 1994, this design had become deeply familiar. The dime was no longer made of silver, having switched in the mid-1960s to a clad composition of copper in the center and cupronickel on the outside. Each coin weighed 2.27 grams and measured just under 18 millimeters in diameter. It was lightweight, practical, and intended for everyday use. In that year alone, the Denver Mint produced over 1.3 billion Roosevelt dimes. With such a high number, it's easy to assume that every 1994 D dime is ordinary. And truthfully, most of them are. But in coin collecting, as in many things, it's the rare exceptions that matter. Out of those billion-plus coins, a small number were struck with exceptional sharpness. These are the coins that collectors call well-struck or fully struck, meaning all the design details appear clearly. On Roosevelt dimes, one of the key features used to evaluate this is the bands on the torch on the reverse. When those horizontal bands are fully visible and separated, the coin earns the designation full bands, which adds to its appeal and value, but strike quality isn't the only factor. What really determines a coin's worth is condition, and that's where it gets interesting. Coins that were kept out of circulation from day one, whether in a mint set, sealed roll, or personal collection, can remain in pristine condition. These coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, where MS-60 and higher indicates mint state, or uncirculated condition. A coin graded MS-65 is considered gem quality. MS-67 and MS-68 are exceptional, with minimal flaws visible even under magnification. For the 1994 D Dime, high-grade examples are hard to come by. And full bands versions in mint state 67 or higher are extremely rare. According to grading data, only a small number of these coins have ever been certified at MS-68 with full bands. That puts them in a category of their own. Most circulated examples are worth exactly 10 cents. Uncirculated coins in average condition might be worth a few dollars. A nicely preserved MS-65 with full bands might bring in $30 to $100. But it's the top of the scale that really gets attention. The finest known example of a 1994 D Roosevelt Dime, graded mint state 68 with full bands, has reached a verified value of $52,000, yes, that's 52,000 US dollars, for a coin that was once worth only 10 cents. That kind of value doesn't come from age or precious metal. It comes from a combination of rarity, condition, and collector demand. And for this particular year and mint mark, the population of coins at that top grade is incredibly small. That scarcity drives the value higher. It's important to remember that coins don't just gain value by existing. The way they were handled, stored, and preserved over time plays a huge role. Exposure to the elements, scratches, and even minor wear can reduce a coin's grade and value significantly. This means that sometimes, a coin in your collection might be worth more than you expect just by being well cared for. Modern coins, like the 1994 D Dime, can surprise you if they are in exceptional condition. Collectors often seek out these rare high-grade examples not just for their monetary value, but for the story they tell about minting quality and preservation over time. It's a way to connect with history in a tangible form. Sometimes, people wonder if coins from recent decades could ever be worth a significant amount. The 1994 D Roosevelt Dime with full bands at a top grade proves that it's not just old coins that matter. Condition and rarity can create value even in modern coins. So if you ever come across a 1994 D Dime that looks unusually sharp, check the bands on the torch, examine the surfaces, and look for signs that it may have never been circulated. And if it seems like a strong candidate, it may be worth submitting to a professional grading service for evaluation, because sometimes, even a coin minted in the 1990s, something you could still pull from your pocket today, might be hiding in plain sight, with a value far beyond what most people would expect. Remember, the key is knowledge and careful observation. The more you learn about coins, the better chance you have of finding hidden treasures among the everyday change you come across. So keep your eyes open and don't overlook the smaller coins. They might surprise you. Let's explore another valuable coin, the 2000 Roosevelt Dime with the D mint mark. At first glance, it might look like just another dime you find every day in your pocket or at the checkout. But, as with many coins, the story beneath the surface can reveal something quite special. The Roosevelt dime has been part of American currency since 1946. It was introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who not only led the country through some of its toughest times but also inspired the March of Dimes campaign to combat polio. This coin is more than just money, it's a small piece of history. The design features Roosevelt's profile on the front, or obverse, facing left, with the year and mint mark beside him. The reverse side carries a torch, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch on one side, representing peace, and an oak branch on the other, symbolizing strength and independence. This design has been consistent for decades, becoming a familiar sight in everyday transactions. In 2000, the Denver Mint struck over 1 billion of these dimes. That's a huge number, which means most 2000 D dimes you come across are quite common. However, what makes some of these coins stand out is the quality of their strike and how well they've been preserved over time. Collectors pay close attention to a feature called full bands on the reverse of the dime. This refers to the horizontal lines on the torch that are fully separated and sharply defined. Not every coin from that year has this feature clearly visible. It takes excellent minting conditions and quality control for a coin to show fully separated bands. Coins with full bands are more desirable to collectors and often command a higher value. Condition is another crucial factor. Coins that have been used in everyday transactions show signs of wear, scratches, loss of detail, and dulling of the surface. But some coins are saved from circulation immediately. kept safe in rolls, collector sets, or personal collections. These coins maintain their original sharpness and luster and are classified as uncirculated or mint state. The grading scale for coins runs from 1 to 70, with grades above 60 representing uncirculated coins. Higher grades, especially MS 65 and above, are considered gem quality and attract collector interest. For the 2000 D Dime, finding examples with both full bands and high mint state grades is rare. Only a limited number of these coins have been certified at top grades such as MS 67 or MS 68. These top-tier coins are among the finest survivors from that massive 2000 mintage. The value difference between common circulated coins and these rare, high-grade full bands dimes is significant. A typical 2000 D dime in circulation is worth just its face value of 10 cents. Uncirculated dimes without full bands might sell for a few dollars to collectors. But a 2000 D dime with full bands graded at MS 65 or higher can bring hundreds or even a few $1,000s. At the very top end, those exceptional coins graded MS 67 or MS 68 with full bands have been confirmed to reach a coin value of up to $42,000. That's a substantial sum for a coin that was once considered everyday pocket change. What drives this value is not silver content or precious metal but rarity and demand from collectors who value the coin's condition and the quality of its strike. It shows that modern coins can still hold impressive value when they meet these criteria. If you ever find a 2000 D dime that looks unusually sharp, especially around the bands on the torch, it's worth taking a closer look. Checking for full band detail and minimal surface wear can hint that it might be a higher grade coin. Submitting it to a professional grading service can provide a clear assessment of its condition and value. This coin reminds us that collecting isn't just about old coins. Even coins minted in the year 2000 can hold significant value if they have the right characteristics and are well cared for. It also highlights the importance of paying attention to the small details on coins. Sometimes, a feature that might seem minor, like the separation of bands on a torch, can mean the difference between a coin worth a few cents and one worth tens of thousands of dollars. So next time you're sorting through your change or browsing a coin collection, remember to look beyond the surface. Some of the most valuable coins might be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. And for those interested in coin collecting, the 2000 D Roosevelt Dime with full bands is a perfect example of why knowledge and attention to detail are so important. It's a reminder that even modern coins can become valuable collectibles with the right traits. It's also a good example of how the story behind a coin adds to its appeal, combining history, design, and rarity into something worth seeking out. Whether you're a casual collector or someone just curious about coins, understanding these factors can make all the difference. That's a detailed look at the 2000 D Roosevelt Dime. Keep exploring, keep learning, and you never know what treasures you might find in your coin collection or loose change. Here comes the last coin from today's collection, the 2005 Roosevelt Dime with the D mint mark. At first glance, this dime looks just like any other dime you might find in your pocket change or at the store. But for collectors, this coin holds a surprising amount of significance and potential value, making it an exciting find in any coin hunt. The Roosevelt Dime series began back in 1946, created to honor one of America's most influential presidents, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He is remembered not only for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II but also for his personal battle with polio. In fact, the March of Dimes campaign, which raised funds to fight polio, is directly connected to the creation of this coin, adding a layer of meaningful history to every dime. The coin's design, which has remained largely unchanged for nearly 80 years, features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse or front. His likeness is detailed and dignified, capturing the essence of his character. On the reverse side, there is the Torch of Liberty in the center, symbolizing freedom and enlightenment. This torch is flanked by an olive branch on one side, representing peace, and an oak branch on the other, symbolizing strength and endurance. Together, these elements reflect core American values, which help explain why this coin has become so beloved. In 2005, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these dimes, meaning that for everyday use, the 2005 D dime is one of the most common dimes in circulation. However, among these millions of coins are some rare and highly sought-after varieties, specifically those with what collectors call the full bands designation. Full bands refers to the fine horizontal lines found on the Torch of Liberty on the reverse side of the dime. For a coin to qualify as having full bands, these lines must be fully separated, sharply defined, and distinct from one another. This level of detail occurs only when the coin is struck with exceptional pressure and precision at the mint. Many dimes from this year do not show fully separated bands because of less intense strikes, making full bands examples significantly rarer. The rarity of the full bands 2005 D dime cannot be overstated. While millions were minted overall, only a small percentage display this feature clearly. This alone makes the coin a standout for collectors who specialize in varieties and minting errors or details. Condition is another key factor that affects the coin's value. Circulated coins, which have been used in everyday transactions, generally show wear. This wear dulls the details and softens the design, making such coins less valuable to collectors. On the other hand, uncirculated coins, often called mint state coins, retain their original sharpness, brilliance, and detail. These coins have never been used in circulation and are much more desirable. Professional coin grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, grade coins on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS 65 or higher is considered to be in excellent mint state condition. For the 2005 D Roosevelt Dime, examples graded MS 65 and above, especially with the full bands feature, are highly prized and command much higher prices than their circulated counterparts, while the average 2005 D dime you might find is worth only its face value, 10 cents, the full bands variety in top mint state condition can be worth significantly more. Collectors recognize the rarity and quality of these coins and are willing to pay accordingly. In fact, the highest quality 2005 D Roosevelt dimes with full bands have been known to reach a coin value of up to $30,000. This may come as a surprise to many, given how recent these coins are and the fact that they contain no precious metals. This high value is a result of the combination of rarity, collector demand, and outstanding condition. It's important to emphasize that the value of this coin comes from its collectible status, not its metal content. The 2005 Roosevelt dime is primarily made of copper and nickel, metals that have minimal intrinsic value. Instead, what drives the price is how rare the full bands feature is, and how well the coin has been preserved over the years. For collectors and anyone who enjoys coin hunting, the 2005 D dime with full bands presents an exciting opportunity. If you come across a dime that looks particularly sharp and detailed, especially around the torch bands, it's a good idea to get it professionally examined and graded. Certification from a reputable grading company verifies the coin's condition and authenticity, and can greatly enhance its market value. This coin also illustrates an important lesson for collectors of all experience levels. Even coins that are relatively new can have hidden value. Paying attention to subtle details like full bands can turn what looks like a common coin into a valuable collectible. Moreover, the interest in varieties such as full bands has grown steadily over the years, increasing demand and driving prices higher. Many collectors focus specifically on these kinds of minting details because they tell a unique story about the coin's production and history. If you are new to coin collecting or considering starting, the 2005 D Roosevelt dime with full bands is a great example of how knowledge and careful observation can make a big difference. It encourages patience and a trained eye, which are essential qualities for any successful collector. That brings us to the end of today's coin hunt and our deep dive into this fascinating dime. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting coin stories, tips, and discoveries. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for another coin adventure.